Well, good morning, everybody. So glad to be here with you again today. And I thought we would start this morning like we have in the past with some breathing. That's always a good way to start a yoga practice. Good way to sort of reset and recalibrate yourself, especially if you've been busy doing things this morning or you're anticipating doing some other things a little bit later. So I'm just going to ask you to sit comfortably. Maybe if you can come up close to the front edge of your chair. Hopefully you're sitting in a chair that doesn't have arms on it, and that's a comfortable height for you to be able to have your feet on the floor. So just kind of getting into the space of relaxed sitting, making sure your sitting bones are even on the chair. You're not leaning to one side or leaning forward or leaning back. Press down into your sitting bones, reach up through the crown of your head, lengthen your spine. And if it's comfortable to close your eyes, I will invite you to do that right now. And just begin to notice your breath. Notice the way air is moving in and out of your body. Are you breathing easily through both nostrils, or is one nostril a little more open than the other? Is your breath shallow or deep? Is your breath fast or slow? And now let's shift into more conscious and active breathing as we slowly deepen each inhalation, pulling the air down deep into the lungs, letting the belly expand, and then slowing down each exhalation as you gently pull your navel in toward your spine. So you're using your abdominal muscles and trying to press out all the breath that's left in the lower lobes of the lungs. So the breath in is long, slow, and deep, and the breath out is long and slow. Now, if it's comfortable for you to create a little restriction at the back of your throat as you're breathing in and out, this actually helps to slow the rate of breath, and it helps to drive the air a little bit deeper into your lungs. So if you create a little restriction, it kind of has the same effect of narrowing the passageway for the air to move in and out. And it has a little sound. It can kind of sound like the ocean. Again, long, slow, deep breaths in and out, creating that sound if it's possible by making that restriction in the back of your throat. If you're having any difficulty breathing this morning, I know the pollen counts are very high, just breathe normally. You don't have to make that restriction if it feels like it's just a little too much. So we'll do a couple more rounds of this long, slow, deep breathing with the restriction in the back of the throat. And after your next exhalation, you can let go of that constriction in the back of the throat and you can return to your natural breath, just letting air move in and out of your body at a normal pace. Noticing where you feel movement and where you don't feel movement. Both are essential, to feel the movement and not to feel the movement. And as you continue to just breathe in and out normally, you can let your eyes gently open. We're going to begin a little bit of movement this morning with the feet. So I'll ask you to extend your right leg and have your heel on the floor. Sit up nice and tall. So you might need to scoot a little farther forward in your chair. And with your heel on the floor, let's begin to squeeze and extend the toes. Squeezing and extending the toes. So we're getting some movement in the joints, those little toe joints. And you can feel some movement in the foot, or some activity rather in the foot. You can feel maybe some activity in the leg. And we'll start to point and flex the foot as well. So as you're pointing and flexing, you're lifting your heel, lifting your toes, kind of alternating that if that works for you. If that's kind of difficult to do, you can have your heel on the floor and do that pointing and flexing with the heel on the floor. So again, just breathing in and out normally, but with a little bit more depth and maybe just a little bit slower breath. And then let's start to circle that ankle around as we breathe in and out. Good, and reverse the direction of your circle. So we're getting a little movement in the ankle joint now, which is really nice to do without any weight bearing on there. And then let's have the heel on the floor. Now reach out through that heel and lengthen the leg. And as you lengthen that right leg, lift up through your spine. Take your hands to either side of your chair, like right alongside where your hips are. And then we're going to do a little bit of work for the knee. So you're going to lift that heel and bend the knee, bring the heel as far under the chair as you can, and then extend. So we're going to bend and extend. Now I have some limitation in this leg, so I can't really bring my heel too far back, but I'm doing the best I can here, and I'm assuming that you are as well. So whatever is working for you this morning, if you need to take a rest at any time, you can just drop that heel to the floor, kind of give the leg a little bit of a rest, and then return to it as we continue. So we're going to do 5 more of these together. Breathing in and out, as long as the breath is smooth and even and steady. That's the way we want to breathe. You don't necessarily have to breathe in when you extend or breathe out when you extend. Just let your breath be nice and slow and steady. So let's do just 1 more of these, bending and then extending, and then we're going to have the heel right on the floor. Now with the heel right on the floor, again, press out through your heel, lift your toes toward your shin. We're going to start to rotate that whole leg in and out. So if you look at your foot, it should look like a big windshield wiper down there. So we're just going from the big toe side to the little toe side, and see if you can feel that movement way up here in your hip, right? So there's some movement in the ankle. There's actually a little bit of movement here in the knee, and then there's more movement up here in the hip. So breathing in, breathing out. You can continue to have your hands on your chair. I always find that having my hands just kind of resting here by my hips helps remind me to keep my spine up, because with my hands here, I can tend to start to round forward a little bit. So we want to just do something to remind yourself to stay upright. And then the next time that your toes are straight up toward the ceiling, we're going to hold here and really strengthen these muscles right here in the top of the leg. So from your hip to your knee, in the front part of your leg, those are your quadriceps muscles. And these are really important to keep mobile and active. So we're going to keep those muscles really strong, and then we're going to lift the heel from the floor and lower back down. We're going to continue this, just lifting and lowering the heel. And again, if you have your hands just kind of resting on the side of the chair here, you'll sort of remind yourself to keep your spine up nice and tall. So as you're lifting and lowering, notice if you're leaning back, right? So are you leaning back to do that, or can you stay upright? Good. Okay, couple more, lifting and lowering. And then we're going to lift and we're going to hold. Now this one's really challenging. So we're really strengthening these muscles here, keeping the knee as straight as it'll go, pressing out through the heel, lifting the toes toward the shin, breathing in and out smoothly. So if you feel like your breath is getting a little bit shallow, or you're speeding up your breathing a little bit, see if you can slow the breathing down. That's definitely going to help you hold this a little longer. Excuse me. We're going to hold for 3 more breaths if you can, breathing in deeply and breathing out completely. There's 1 and 2 and 3. And we're going to lower that heel back down to the floor. Let's relax that leg a little bit and give this thigh a little bit of a massage. So the muscles there were really working. So we're just kind of giving them a little massage. Now, there's several ways to massage. You can just kind of rub the way that I'm doing here with your hands. You can take your hands, make little fists and do a little tapping, or you can take the sides of your hands like you're chopping, and you can do a little bit there. Now, all 3 of those methods work really well on these big muscles in the leg. Okay, so let's do this. Let's extend that leg one more time. Sit up nice and tall, hands alongside you, just to remind you to stay upright. And now we're going to rotate the leg out to the little toe side of your foot. Now, as you're rotating out to the little toe side of your foot, that should be in about the 2 o'clock position for you. We're going to engage the muscles here in the top part of the leg again, and we're going to lift and lower, keeping that foot angled out to the little toe side. Now we're working just a different part of this quadriceps muscle group, right? So it's a group of muscles in the top part of the leg. There are 4 of them that we're really mostly concerned with. And what we're working now is one particular part of that with the foot angled out to the side. If your foot goes back to the 12 o'clock position, you're working a different muscle or a different part of that muscle group. And that's okay, but our intention is to really work this inner part of the muscle group. So let's do 3 more of these, because these are really challenging. We're not going to do too many of these. And the last one we're going to do, I know we're doing 4, last one we're going to lift and hold. Now see if you can sit up right nice and tall. So some of you I see leaning back. We're going to come forward just a little bit, and we're holding here for 2 more breaths, just 2 more breaths, you guys. There's 1 and 2. And we're going to lower that heel back down to the floor. Relax that leg. Give the knee a little bit of a bend. And let's just give that leg a little bit of a massage. And again, any kind of massage method works really well. The leg just wants to know that you recognize that it's done some extra work here this morning. Okay, so now we're going to scoot over to the right side of your chair. So you want to be over far enough on your chair that your right cheek is just sort of on the edge a little bit here. You're going to keep your left foot underneath your knee if you can, so your knee is bent here. And we're going to try and keep the torso, that's your belly button and your sternum, we're going to try and keep that going in the same direction as that left foot, not turning to the right. And we're going to take the right foot using the heel and toes and walk that leg out as far as it'll go. And then we're going to walk the leg back. So we're going to do this a few times. So we're getting a little bit of movement here, side movement in the hip. So the hip joint is one of the those joints that actually has lots of different directions. And so it's important that we exercise all different directions of movement with the hip. And the thing I like about doing chair yoga and these kinds of movements with the hip is that we get to explore that range of movement without bearing any weight. So we're sitting down, we get to just see, oh, this is how far this will go, and this is where I feel it, and this is where I don't feel it. And the next time that you have that foot and leg out to the side, we're going to hold here. So now notice, have you started to turn your body to the right? We want to keep your body turning here to the front, right? So your sternum and your navel are kind of lining up with your left knee, not your right. We're going to engage the muscles in the outside of this right leg and pull the knee toward the wall behind you. So I'm going to pull this way. You're pulling toward the wall behind you. I'm kind of giving you a little direction there. So you should feel that the muscles on the outside of the hip and the outside of the leg are engaging. And you might feel a little bit of a stretch in through here, the inner thigh, the groin area, maybe down into the knee, in the inside of the knee there. So let's take the right hand. We're going to just kind of place it on that thigh a little bit here. We're going to take the left hand to the chair alongside your left hip. Good. Now press into your left hand, lift and lengthen through your spine. Get a little bit tall. Great. And with your next exhalation, we're going to bend this right elbow and we're going to bring that elbow and forearm down onto the thigh. You can let your left hand come off the chair. We're going to breathe that arm up and then breathe that arm all the way down. So your body is resting, your upper body is resting on your elbow and forearm. So we don't want to be using your back muscles to do this. And we're inhaling and exhaling as we're lifting and lowering that arm in a really gentle arc, and go only as high as feels okay for you. So some of you might be working with a sore shoulder or a little limitation in the shoulder. That's okay. Just go as high as you can. And one more time, up and down. Good. And then we're going to take this arm and we're going to bend the elbow and place the palm, if you can, on your shoulder. Lift your elbow up, and as you breathe in, bring your elbow back behind you as far as you can. So you're kind of twisting your body a little bit and you're bringing that elbow back. Should feel a stretch here in the front of the chest, the front of the shoulder. The palm of your right hand should be up and the palm is open. Now, as you breathe out, we're going to take that left elbow. We're going to sweep around and see if you can tap the palm of your hand with your elbow. And then breathing in and out, we're going to lift the elbow up and rotate it back as far as you can. And then we're going to rotate forward and tap the palm with the elbow. So if your elbow doesn't get even close to your palm, that's okay. We're just going in this direction. So as long as your elbow and your palm are kind of in the same zip code. How's that, right? So they're in the same zip code. We're trying to get them as close together as possible. If you can get your elbow all the way down there, by all means, let's do that. And don't forget, you're still pulling that right knee toward the wall behind you. So if you've lost that connection, I'm going to ask you to do that. And while you're doing all of these things simultaneously, you're slowing your breath. So we're getting that sense of nice, gentle, slow breathing. One more time, we're going to open up, come forward, great. And then let's open up. We're going to take that hand all the way up overhead, reach, lift, and lengthen through that arm. And now take the hand down to your left thigh. We're going to rotate the body forward and over to the left as you slowly come up. Okay? So that's an easier way on the spine. It's a little bit easier on the spine to come forward and then up, as opposed to just lifting up from that side bending position. So now we're going to take this right leg and extend it out so your heel is on the floor and your toes are lifted toward your shin, and feel the muscles in the top part of your leg get nice and strong. So we want to activate these quadriceps muscles again. That's the muscles in the top part of your leg and in the front of your thigh there. And we're going to hold that nice and firm as we take the left hand to the left side of the chair, again, sort of in line with your left hip if you can. Take your right arm, sweep it all the way up overhead, and then we're going to lean into that left side. So you're bending your left elbow, inhaling and exhaling, coming up and down. So just to kind of recap what we're doing here, that right leg is extended, the heel is on the floor, toes are reaching toward the ceiling and close to the shin. So the leg muscles are really strong. That right leg the muscles are really strong. Your left hand is on the side of your chair, near your left hip. And we're just sweeping that right arm up and over as we lean into that left side. So I don't know about you all, but I'm getting a nice stretch through the right side of my waist. When I lean over, I'm getting a stretch through my hip, through the top part of my leg. Just one more time, we're going to come up and over and reach. Good, and then come all the way back. Now keep that right leg extended. Take your right hand and begin to slide it down your thigh, close to your knee. Make sure your navel and your sternum, your breastbone, are still facing that left leg. So again, you're not turning in this right direction. You're still facing forward. As you slide your hand down your right leg, you're going to lean into that right side, coming over as far as you can, and then we're going to come all the way up. Breathing in and breathing out. So it's a little bit of a side bend. So you can feel the waist on the right side getting shorter, right? So the space between your ribs and your hip getting shorter, and you feel the waist on the left side of your body getting longer. So the ribs and the hip bone are getting a little farther away from one another. If it feels okay for you to add your left arm sweeping up and over, you can do that. It's not necessary. It's not mandatory by any stretch. You can do this without leaning up or without the arm. You can simply lean to one side up and over. So let's do just two more of these, getting a little bit more length through that left side. That right leg is still active and strong. If your leg is gone a little soft, You want to strengthen it, and finally coming all the way up. Excellent job, everybody. So let's relax that right leg now. We're going to use the toes and the heel and really gently walk that foot back around. And as you come back with that foot close to the left foot, you're going to have to scoot your backside to the center of your chair. And now take your right leg, let's cross it over the left. So if you can get knee on top of knee, that's what you'll do. If you can't get knee on top of knee, you can cross at the ankle. So whichever one works for you. Make sure both sitting bones are on the chair and that you're sitting up nice and tall. So again, knee on top of knee or ankle on top of ankle. Pressing the inner thighs together, so we're creating like an intended tension here between the thighs. So we're holding that together, and then with a nice tall spine, we're going to hinge forward from the hips like you're trying to bring your belly button right down onto your knees. So you're coming forward, and then you're coming back up, right? So just kind of to recap everything that we're doing here. So we have the legs crossed, either knee on top of knee or ankle on top of ankle. We're squeezing those inner thighs together. And as you squeeze your inner thighs together, you should feel your gluteal muscles, your bum muscles kind of firming up as well. And when we come forward, we're not bringing the nose down. We're actually keeping the nose lifted. We're hinging from way down here in the hips, like you're trying to bring your navel down onto your knee. Okay, couple more of these. Breathing in and breathing out as you hinge forward and come all the way up. Last one. We're going to come forward and come all the way up. Excellent. Okay, so relax that a little bit. And now if you've got your knee crossed on top of your knee, see if you can slide your ankle on top of that knee. If you can't get the ankle on top of the knee, and I can't quite get my ankle on top of my knee here, so I'm going to cross ankle on top of ankle. That works just great. So again, ankle on top of knee, that's the right ankle on top of the left knee, or right ankle on top of left ankle. And we're going to engage muscles here in the outer part of this leg, the outer part of the hip all the way down to the knee. We're going to pull that knee down toward the floor and then relax and let it release back to its natural position. So just kind of holding your hands maybe on your lap. You don't want to be pushing with your hands. We're just pulling that knee down toward the floor by engaging the leg muscles and then relaxing and letting it come back to its natural position. Pulling the knee down and relaxing back to natural. So let's do this a few more times. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, each time you try and pull your knee, or actually each time you pull your knee down toward the floor, you might feel like your body wants to kind of roll forward a little bit. See if you can counteract that by sitting up a little taller. So what I find works for me is when I'm pulling the knee down toward the floor and lengthening through my spine, if I inhale, I feel like I have more ability to do that. And then when I release, I can exhale, and that feels like a more natural place for me. Now that might not work quite the same way for you, and that's okay. So I'm just going to invite you to do what feels good. And the next time now that you pull your knee down toward the floor and your spine is lengthened, we're going to hold here and breathe. One more deep breath in and out. And then you can relax everything. Now, if you've got your ankle crossed on top of your knee, you might want to assist your leg a little bit. If you've got your ankle on top of your ankle, just kind of help that leg off. So we've got feet on the floor, and then scoot to the front of your chair. If you're not there, we're going to extend both legs, point your toes, and notice if your right leg is a little longer than your left leg. I've got about a good ½ inch of length, what looks like a good ½ inch down there of length. So that's pretty significant. So let's bend the knees and we'll come back to our comfortable seated position at the front edge of the chair. Now, part of what we did on that right side was we relaxed and lengthened some of the muscles. We got more space in the joints, so we actually did increase length. And we're going to do the same thing now on the left side. So let's start on the left side with the heel on the floor, and we're going to squeeze and extend the toes. So squeezing and extending toes, breathing in and breathing out. Good. Just kind of taking note if your foot on this side works a little differently than the other side. Maybe the toes are more flexible on one foot than the other. Maybe there's different sensations. So sometimes we can have a couple of toes that feel a little sore, a little tight, maybe the joints. And now let's point and flex the foot and notice your spine. Is your spine nice and tall, or have you kind of come into that little slumped position? See if you can get your spine nice and tall. Once again, what I like to do is just have my hands resting alongside my hips on the chair. That's just a reminder for me that my spine needs to be lifted a little bit. So pointing and flexing, we're going to go from here to circling around at the ankle, going round and round. Great, and then reverse direction of your circles. If you need to rest your heel on the floor to do that, that's absolutely fine. Great, and then we'll bring that heel back down to the floor. So with the heel on the floor, we're gonna be working a little bit of the knee. So if you're not right up at the front edge of your chair, come on up, have your hands on the chair alongside you. This is gonna be really helpful because we're gonna be lifting the heel off the floor. And again, the tendency, especially if the leg muscles could be a little bit stronger, the tendency is for the spine to start to flex a little bit. So I'm just going to hold here, lift and lengthen through the spine, and then we're going to bend that knee and bring that heel as far under the chair as you can, and then extend. So bending and extending, breathing in and breathing out. Doesn't matter when you inhale, doesn't matter when you exhale, as long as the breath feels smooth and round. I talk about this a lot in class, that there's a roundness to the breath, right? There's the inhalation and exhalation without a giant pause. There's a very slight pause, but without a giant pause. When we're stressed or we're doing something that's really challenging, we tend to inhale and hold our breath, and then exhale and hold the breath a little bit, so it gets a little more choppy. Let's go one more time, in and out. You guys can do this, it's a lot, I know. And then we're gonna lower that heel to the floor, let the leg relax a little bit. Let's give that thigh a bit of a massage. So once again, you can do a little squeezing movement here, you know, squeezing the muscles, or you can do a little chopping movement with the little finger side of the hand, or you can do a little pounding with a very light fist if that works for you. If that hurts your knuckles, any of the joints in your hand, then just don't do that part. All right, and then we're gonna extend that leg once again with the heel on the floor and make the muscles here nice and strong. We're gonna rotate the whole leg in and out. So you can look down at your foot and you'll see your foot going like a windshield wiper from side to side, big toe side to little toe side. Some of that movement is happening in your ankle. To a lesser degree, you've got a little movement in the knee, and then most of this should be happening way up here in the hip. What I like to do is just kind of place my hand right up where the hip crease is. So that little saddle between your thumb and your first finger is a great tool to just kind of place in there. And I can feel all that rotation happening in the hip. I can feel the muscles working, and I can feel that rotation of my leg bone in the hip socket. Okay, and now the next time that your foot is straight up toward the ceiling, you're gonna hold here. Once again, these muscles are nice and strong in the top part of the leg. I'm going to bring my hands alongside my hips again to remind myself. I could feel myself starting to lose my posture a little bit. So I'm just going to have my hands right alongside my hips. And now we're going to keep these muscles really strong as we lift and lower the heel. Now, notice if you're leaning back when you do this, right? So if I lean back, I can get my foot way up here. But if I don't lean back, that's about as far as I'm going to go. And that's what I really want to do, is focus on the muscles here, not on getting my foot as high as I can get it, but on really activating these muscles here. Breathing in and breathing out. Make sure these feel nice and strong for you. And the next time that you lift, we're going to hold and breathe. Now, as you're holding your leg up here, keep pressing out through your heel. Make sure your breath is smooth and steady. If you're gripping your chair, see if you can release your grip on your chair a little bit. Let's count to 3 as we hold this. It's 1 and 2 and 3. And lower back down. Great. Let's relax that, give that a little bit of a massage. So we were targeting the muscles right here in the middle part of that thigh. So real important muscles for your kneecap. Make sure your kneecap is tracking well. All right, and then we're going to extend that leg once again. And this time we're going to rotate the whole leg to the little toe side. So this, for you guys now, we're on the left side. So this should be like out at about the 10 o'clock position, somewhere in that realm. So keep that foot at an angle. Try not to let it drift back to 12 o'clock because we're trying to work a little different group or a little different part of the muscle group here. So we're going to lift and lower. Again, I'm going to have my hands alongside the hips. That reminds me to keep my posture nice and straight and steady, and breathe in and out easily and smoothly. So if you notice that your breath is getting a little bit choppy, you might just slow your breathing down a bit. Inhale and exhale, lift and lower. Nice. And the next time you lift, let's hold this just for 2 breaths. This one is pretty hard, so we're just going to hold for 2. There's 1. And 2, excellent, and lower that down, good. Let's relax that, give this leg and hip a little bit of a massage. So that can feel really good or that can feel really challenging. And it depends on, you know, what you've got going on in your body. I definitely am having a different experience on my right side and my left side just because of what I've got going on. So now we're going to scoot over to the left side of the chair. So as you scoot over to the left side of the chair, the left side of your hip and your cheek should be just a little bit off, but you want to make sure that you've got enough of your body on the chair that you don't feel like you're going to fall over. So your right knee now and ankle are kind of in alignment, even if you have to have your leg out like this. If you can bring it in under, that's okay, but just make it so that it's comfortable. Your sternum, that's your breastbone, and your navel stay lined up with this right knee. And we're going to take the toes and the heel of the left leg and we're going to walk that foot way out to the side. And then we're going to walk it all the way back. So breathe in, breathe out. Now notice, are you leaning to the side when you bring your leg out? Can you stay upright? So we're trying to keep the body focused forward. Yeah. And we're doing a little bit of work at the ankle. So now I can feel my ankle working. I can feel muscles in my leg working. When I get my leg way out to the left, I can feel a bit of a stretch through the inner thigh and the groin. I can also feel that the muscles in the back of, or the outside of my hip and the outside of my leg, they're working quite a bit when I get that leg out there. So let's do just one more kind of little journey from this forward position to the sideways position. And we're going to hold this left leg out to the left. Now, just taking a moment to make sure you're still oriented so that your body isn't facing the left. You want your sternum and your navel and your right knee all in a nice straight line, so you're kind of facing forward. We're going to take the left hand to that left leg. Now engage the muscles here in the outside of your left hip and your left leg, and you're going to pull your knee toward the wall behind you. So I'm pulling this way, you're pulling that way. So you're trying to pull that knee back, and you should feel those muscles wake up in there, and you might feel these muscles in here kind of stretch. So once again, left hand on the knee or thigh and right hand on the chair, and that just helps us to kind of orient a little bit. Breathe in, breathe out. Great. Getting nice and tall and lengthened. And now we're going to bend the left elbow and place that elbow and forearm on the left thigh. So you're still pulling your knee toward the back of the space. Turn the palm of your left hand up. And let's see if we can just do a couple of arcs here. Sweeping that right arm up and down, breathing in and breathing out. If you turn your palm up a little bit as you bring the arm up overhead, you actually create a little more space in the shoulder joint. And it might be a little easier to raise that arm up without any pain or any discomfort. Okay, just one more time, breathing in and out. We're lifting and lowering that arm. Great. And then we're going to just bend that elbow and take the hand up to the shoulder. Now, as you inhale, let's bring that shoulder back. So it's like you're trying to bring your elbow to the wall behind you, if that makes sense. And you're still pulling your left knee toward the wall behind you. So it's like your elbow and your knee are kind of pulling in the same direction. Breathing in and out smoothly and easily. We're going to take that right elbow, sweep it forward and around, and see if you can tap your left palm. And breathe in and out as we lift and lower. So there's a bit of a rotation here. And we're just trying to bring that elbow and palm of the hand into the same zip code. So if you don't get the elbow on the palm, that's okay. As long as you're kind of in the same area. That's where we're trying to get, right? So there's a rotation in the waist. There's a rotation in the spine, right? Up into the back. And there's breath moving in and out. Let's just do a couple more of these. So these can be really challenging if you're limited in how far forward you can come. If you've got some issues going on with your back, just do the best you can. Let's try just one more time, you guys, lifting and rotating forward. And we're gonna come all the way back up. Let's take that right arm straight up overhead. Lift, 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 get nice and tall there. And now take your right hand to your right knee. So don't sit up from the side. Instead, we're just gonna shift the weight forward and over to that right side and then press all the way up. Excellent. All right, now we're gonna take that left leg, extend it out. So we're straightening the leg, excuse me, straightening the knee rather. We've got the heel on the floor and the toes are reaching up toward the ceiling. Now these muscles here in the top part of the thigh, in the front part of the thigh, are nice and active and strong. So make sure that your body hasn't started to drift over to that left side. You want to have your sternum, your navel, and your right knee all in a nice straight line. Breathing in and breathing out. Take your right hand to the chair. Take your left arm, and as you inhale, lift that arm up, and as you exhale, bend your right elbow and kind of lean into that side, and then press into the hand and come all the way up. Now, the nice thing about having your hand on the chair as we move into this side stretch is that you can press into your hand and straighten your arm, and that's going to build some muscles in your shoulder and in your arm. So I love these things that give us the opportunity to do multiple things at the same time. So we're stretching that left leg, the back of the left leg and the inside of the left leg. We're strengthening the top part of the leg because these muscles here are very strong. We're stretching through the left side of the waist and the ribs as we lean over. And if you're placing enough weight in this right arm, you're actually building some strength in the shoulder, in the arm muscles. Let's just do 2 more of these. I know we've probably done like 30 on this side and we did like 10 on the other side. So this is just one of those things. We're gonna come all the way back up. Great, and we're gonna hold here and take that left hand and let it kind of relax down that left leg a little bit as you go toward the knee. And then we're gonna start to lean into that left side and come all the way up. So we're leaning to the left and coming all the way up. If you'd like to add your right arm lift, you can do that. If you prefer not to have that right arm lift, you can just have the hand resting on your thigh, or you can have it kind of trailing on your chair. You can also have your hand on your shoulder and do it that way, right? So you're still facing forward. Try not to turn into that left side, right? So if you're turning your head, if you're turning your body, then we're stretching something a little bit different. So we're just trying to go over. There you go. And one more time. Excellent. Great. And coming all the way up. Great job, you guys. Let's relax that leg, bend the knee. Now use the heel and the toes, and we're just going to walk that foot around. And as you walk your foot around, you're going to reposition yourself to the middle part of your chair, but right at the front edge. Now, don't sit way back into your chair. You want to sit at the right edge, or front edge rather. Cross your left knee on top of your right knee, or your left ankle on top of, oh, I did it wrong. No, I didn't. So left ankle on top of right knee, or left ankle on top of right ankle. There we go. So once again, if you can do this, that's great. If you can't quite get that up there, we're going to hold here. We're going to squeeze the inner thighs together. Now, as you squeeze your inner thighs together, I'm going to do it knee on top of knee on this side. I did ankle on the other side. So as you do this, we're just going to lift and lengthen through the spine. And then we're going to come forward like you're trying to bring your navel down onto your knee, and then come all the way up. So if you can keep your spine tall, even as you move forward in this kind of diagonal position, that has a really different effect in the body than trying to bring your nose down to your knees. So that's rounding through the spine And we're trying to really use those spinal muscles to come forward and back. Breathing in and breathing out. Doesn't matter when or how, as long as your breath is round and smooth. And one more time, coming forward and back. Excellent. And now what we're going to do is we're going to slide this left ankle on top of the right knee, or you can keep the ankle crossed on top, and our focus is going to be a little bit different. So before we were squeezing the inner thighs together, and now what we're going to do is we're going to engage the muscles in the outer part of this left leg, and we're going to pull the knee down toward the floor. And as you pull your knee down toward the floor, lift up through your spine. So you're doing two things kind of opposite, and then release that and kind of come back to that neutral position. So breathing in and out, we're pulling the knee toward the floor and the spine upright, and then releasing and relaxing that. So we're going to do that several times. Now you can have your hands resting on your thighs. Just don't use your hands to push your knee down. So we're really trying to create this movement by using the muscles in the leg. It's more of an, again, I like these opportunities to stretch something and strengthen something at the same time. So when we're engaging the muscles and pulling the knee toward the floor, we're strengthening the muscles on the outside of the hip and the outside of the leg while stretching the muscles on the inside of the leg and the inside of the hip, right? So it's sort of this antagonistic relationship of the muscles. And one more time, we're going to pull that down. We're going to hold here for just a breath or two. So breathing in and breathing out. Good. One more deep breath in and out. Great, and then you can relax all of that. Now, if you'd like, you can kind of use your hands, give your leg a little bit of an assist as you uncross, and then sitting up nice and close to the front edge of your chair. Let's see if we can extend both legs and look down. Hopefully, your right leg and left leg are the same length again. We're pretty darn close, provided you kind of started out that way. Now, if you started out with one leg longer than the other, then all bets are off here. So one, you've got that. We're going to just kind of bend the knees a little bit. Take your hands, rest them on your lap for a moment. Close your eyes for just a moment. Return your awareness to your breath. And through this awareness of breath, I'm just going to ask you to notice your feet, your ankles, your lower legs. Notice your knees and your hips, your thighs, the backs of your thighs. So we've done a great deal of work for the lower part of the body so far. Just kind of notice what you feel. Do you feel something that's a little different? Do you feel more balanced? Do you feel less balanced? Is there just a different awareness? This is one of the wonderful things about yoga. It gives us the opportunity to take a moment and check in and just notice what we're observing. There's no need to change anything. You don't have to make anything different than what it is, just kind of noticing it. And then you can let your eyes open. And we'll shift our attention now to give the lower body a little bit of a rest. We'll come into the upper body. So take your hands forward and we're going to squeeze and extend the fingers, just like we did the toes. And it's easier with the hands to do both at the same time. With the feet, it's a little bit challenging, especially when we start to lift the heel off the floor. So again, just noticing what you feel here. Does your right hand and your left hand work the same? Do all the joints have the same feeling, or is there a difference in the joints and some of the joints in your fingers? I know there's definitely a difference for me. Okay. And then let's take the arms forward, and like you're saying, stop. Notice if your arms are way up here and your shoulders are up by your ears, just drop them down a little bit. So we want to keep the shoulders down away from the ears and press out through the heels of the hands. And then we're going to bring the fingers down and up. So this is getting a little bit more movement in the wrists, very similar to what we did in the ankles. All right, so we're lifting and lowering. So when the fingers are down, we're stretching the top part of the forearm. And when the fingers are up, we're stretching the underside of the forearm. And that can go all the way up into the elbows, especially if anybody's working with a little tendonitis in the elbows. This can feel really good as long as you go slow, or it could feel like pretty intense, actually, now that I say that. So let's start to circle around at the wrists. Again, inhaling, exhaling. Sometimes there's a little noise in the wrists. The joints can be a little bit creaky or cranky, and reverse direction if you've been going in one direction. Keep breathing in, breathing out, and then turn your palms up, extend your arms out to the front. As you inhale and exhale, let's lengthen through the spine, and we're going to bend the elbows and tap the shoulders and extend. So we're just tapping and extending, breathing in and breathing out. Good. A little bit of gentle movement in the elbows, a little bit of work for the shoulders. The next time that you tap your shoulders with your fingers, I'm going to ask you to keep your elbows lifted and bring the arms out to the sides. So keep those arms lifted as high as you can. Again, if you're dealing with something going on in your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist, just do the best you can. And we're going to extend and bend out here. So same thing, right? We're just extending and bending. Good. Great. Okay. And the next time that you have your arms extended, we're going to hold in that extended position. And now turn so that your palms are facing away from you, and it's like you're saying stop on either side of you. Keep your shoulder tops away from your ears, so drop them down a little bit. And now we're going to do a little swan movement. We do this quite often, one side and then the other side, but we're going to do both sides together today. So as you breathe in and out, we're just going to bend the elbows, and it's like you're trying to bring the back of your wrists to your shoulders rather, and then extend with that stop kind of movement. So breathing in and breathing out. This little movement works some of the fascia in your arms, some of the muscles, and more importantly, it creates a different space for your nerves to kind of glide. This is called a glide movement, right? So this glide movement is actually helping if you have like a little nervy sensation in your wrist, your elbows, get a little nervy sensation in your arm. This can really help with that. So a couple more times, just floating the arm out and back, and one more. Great. Okay, turn your palms up. So your arms are out to the sides. Let's inhale as we bring the arms way up overhead. And as you exhale, now we're going to bring the arms way out to the side and come forward like you're trying to bring your belly button right down onto your thighs. So breathe in. We're going to sit up and bring the arms way up overhead. Breathe out as you come forward like you're trying to bring your belly button onto your thighs. I'm going to do this a couple more times. Breathing in as you come up. Breathing out as you come forward. Breathing in as you come up. Breathing out, come forward. Let's do this just one more time if we can. So breathe in, come all the way up. Breathe out, come all the way forward. Let's inhale up. We're going to lift here and lengthen, coming into a seated mountain position. Breathing in, breathing out. Get the right fingers up a little higher and the left fingers up a little higher. Take one more deep breath in, and as you exhale, really slowly let your arms float down so they feel like they're just floating like a balloon, losing air very gradually. When your hands get down to your lap, close your eyes. Let's take some breaths in and out. You might notice your heart rate is a little bit different right now. You might notice the rate of your breath is a little bit different right now. So sweeping the arms up overhead and down is actually, it's a kind of an aerobic activity because it does increase your blood pressure a little, it does increase your heart rate a little bit, but it's a very controlled kind of movement. So as you hold here with your eyes closed and your breath nice and smooth, you might notice that your heart rate is starting to slow. You might notice that your breathing rate is starting to slow a little bit, so the body is kind of coming back to more balance. Breathing in and breathing out. Okay, open your eyes for just a moment. And now sit back comfortably into your chair. So we're going to do a little bit of meditation here. So if you want to relax into the back of your chair, you can. If you want to place your feet or your legs in a different position, you can do that as well. When you get comfortable, close your eyes once again and do a little investigation into the tension that's still left in your body. So starting at your head, notice if there's any tension in the top of your head or the sides of your head, around your ears, maybe in the back of your neck, your jaw. Investigate any tension in your face. Notice what you feel in your shoulders, your chest, and upper back. So see if you can relax everything in that part of your body. As you inhale and exhale, feel your rib cage gently expanding and contracting. Notice if there's tension here. If you're holding some tension in your belly, we often will kind of hold the belly really tense. Let the belly be soft. Let your hips and thighs, knees and shins and calves, ankles, feet and toes, let all of that relax. And come back to the awareness of your breath. Notice the tension that might be still left in your breath. So you can tell if your breath is holding tension, if it's shallow or if it's fast. That's kind of a tense breath. That's tension in the breathing. So let that go and let the breathing be smooth, steady, slow, deep. And as the breath loses tension, it encourages the muscles to let go of tension, the muscles in the legs and the arms and the rest of the body. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship here. Breathing in, breathing out. Just notice your body as it inhales and exhales. And as you're watching the breath moving in and out, you might be noticing thoughts. Maybe some of your thoughts are getting a little demanding. Maybe they're trying to grab your attention, take you away from what you're doing right now. Stay steady with the flow of the breath, and as each thought comes in, just let it wander in and wander out. So that's the thing about thoughts. If we don't latch on to them, if I don't allow my awareness to connect with a thought, it will move away. It'll go off. It's like clouds in a sky. It's a great way to kind of get practicing this idea of letting go of thoughts, is to imagine your thoughts are like clouds in the sky. If you want the day to be sunny and bright, then it's important that you let those clouds of thought go. You let them just keep moving. If I hold on to my thoughts, those clouds will build and the sky gets really occluded by these big clouds. And the more clouds that build, the darker the sky gets. And the more ominous things feel, the heavier things can feel. And that's just my perception of things. So instead of that heavy clouded sky, I want to create a lightness to the sky. I want to create a lightness in my mind. So I let the thoughts drift. I let them go, and they'll come back again. So you might notice you let the thought go and then, whoops, there it is again. And that's okay too. Just keep letting it go. And some thoughts are more difficult to let go than others. Some thoughts are really easy to let go of. Other thoughts are just really persistent. And know that it's the nature of the mind to want to hold on to the thoughts that seem really dramatic and big and important. The mind loves drama. The mind is a junk food junkie when it comes to drama. So anything that seems big and important, especially those things that seem ominous, they can really start to cloud things over. So we're just making a different choice to let go. Breathing in and breathing out. That is the only thing that matters right now. In any given moment of your life, the most important thing you can do is breathe. Conscious breathing shifts your focus. It shifts your awareness. It clears the skies of clouds. Breathing in and breathing out is the one function in your body that is both independent of your consciousness and also under your control. Your breath happens without your brain even needing to think about it consciously. It just kind of goes on every moment of every day. And yet, you can hold your breath and make yourself more tense, or you can let your breath grow deeper and make yourself more relaxed. Breath is your most powerful tool. When there's nothing else I can control in the world around me, I know that I can rely on my breath. I can shift from the thoughts of all those things that are beyond my control, all those things that worry me, all those things that create a little anxiety in me. And I can shift my awareness back to my breathing and create a sense of well-being by simply deepening my breath and being fully 100% in relationship with that breath. This is your most powerful tool. Use it. Use it throughout the day. When you're feeling good, when you're feeling not so good. When you're enjoying a peaceful moment, notice how the breath is right there with you. When you're anticipating something that's a little more worrisome and a little less peaceful, just notice how the breath is right there with you. And take your right hand and place it at the center of your chest, and take your left hand and cover your right. Let's breathe into the space underneath the hands and feel your chest rising. Breathe out and feel your chest falling. Let's take one more breath in together and we'll let it out with a sigh. And then if it feels okay, take your palms together and maybe just bow your head for a moment and express to yourself your gratitude for all that you have in your life, for all you've been given, for all you've worked for everything that's gotten you to where you are now. Gratitude for the day, gratitude for community, gratitude for our practice together. And then you can let your eyes open. Thank you, everybody, for being with me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.